let's go through the fastest way to farm up Koumei, shall we? The first thing you need to check is that you have the Sayer's Vigil complete. This is pretty easy, just requires you to go around Cetus. Most people in the game are probably going to have this done fairly early on in their journeys, so it should not be an issue for most. With that done, you will need to head on back to Cetus, where you'll need to head back to where Konzu normally is, so that you can speak to Sayer. I'm not 100% certain how automatic this is, but for me, we had a quest marker that led us over there anyway, so it should be pretty obvious when this becomes available to you. Go ahead and speak to it. It's going to start a nice little quest and direct you to a statue that you can now interact with close to the spawning area in Cetus. Go ahead and do this once or twice if you are also going to be going in Steel Path. I'm going to be using Rhino for this because this actually makes it very, very easy if you are not doing the Steel Path version. Just so you can see, this is a fairly early-ish Rhino, and we are running for strength and range. A bit of efficiency on there because we don't want to run out of energy too often. Duration isn't going to matter too much to us during this mission. It's worth noting that you can use almost any Warframe that has good radial abilities such as Dante, Equinox, Ember, Mesa, Octavia, like there's loads that you could use, but I'm using Rhino because it's early and everybody should pretty much have access to Rhino, which is why I'm going with this one in particular. Interact with Sayer. We're going to get some choices here. Obviously, if you have the Steel Path, you guys can go ahead with the Steel Path version. I'm going to talk about that close to the end of the video because the boss does have some damage attenuation, so we need to look at our strategies for speeding that up. You can see that we can also use pearls to go ahead and purchase the parts if we don't get them to drop from the mission itself. Each part, and that is all of these, have a 4% drop chance, so bear that in mind as you are coming through the mission. It is going to take a while to get them to drop naturally. And then we want to go ahead and interact, press the Sayer's Vision so that we can get on into the mission. The mission itself is very simple. We'll start out with some blessings. These are items we need to pick up from these tables right here. These players are probably going to get to it before me. We're going to try and get to this one so I can show you guys at least one. No, I didn't. Once you pick that up, you just take it over to the statue just here. This is where you're just going to want to deliver them to. We need to get 5, as you can see, to keep things going. And the reason we're bringing along Rhino or anything that has a high level of radial attacks is because we want to be able to clear this beach very quickly. As you can see with the Rhino Stomp, we can get through quite a lot of these enemies nice and quick. And the idea is to try and keep the enemies out of these areas right here so they can continue generating more offerings, which is going to allow us to progress as quickly as possible. It's worth noting, I think that crowd control is going to be useful in here as well, preventing the odd enemy from getting in there. So if you want to use like a Slow Nova or a Gara to put some barriers around it, Limbo can also be useful as well. Go ahead and do that just to keep things going smoothly. Once we've got 5 offerings, we're going to change to an Exterminate. You can see the preparations are still going to continue. This is where you're going to see Rhino Stomp actually works out pretty nice. We're going to be just deleting tons of enemies with it. Let's go someone brings like a mess or something and just stops you from doing it. So get through the enemies as quickly as you can. That's going to bring on the Infested Oni, which is just a big Demos guy. And then we'll just need to put 2 more of the offerings on the altar. That's going to put us into the final phase of the boss. And then we're going to extract to get our rewards. Now, as you can see, we get a roll at one of the items. I actually got one of the weapon parts here, which is rather nice, as well as getting the Fate Pearls. I don't know if it's been patched or not. It may have, for all I know. When we were doing this live, the resource boosters seem to be working on the Fate Pearls. So if you guys want to use that, feel free to go ahead. The game will put us back out in Cetus. And as you can see, we'll go back over. You can go ahead, grab all of the items in here using the pearls. This is just going to make things a little bit easier. Decide what it is that you want to get, and then try to get as many parts as you can before spending the pearls, because it is going to be better to use the pearls to fill in the gaps rather than trying to purchase things and then do everything else. So we're obviously feeling pretty good here. I already have a full set of this building, and then I already have some parts of the weapons as well, so I'm actually going to have the full Higasa pretty easily here. Now, once you've done that once, I find the best thing to do is to actually leave Cetus, as we can now select the mission from the Orbiter, and the advantage of doing this is that instead of coming all the way out of the mission, you can press the repeat mission button and go straight back in much less time. So it's going to save you a little bit of time if you just come on out of the Cetus menu, come out to the Earth menu, and then you can just keep on repeating the mission much easier from this screen. When it comes to Steel Path then, you are going to need a Warframe that will survive. I like bringing along Nova. Nova's real cool. The crowd control is actually pretty welcome these days. The Epitaph is perfect because Warframe abilities don't seem to be affecting the armor on the boss, so you are going to need a weapon that can strip it. It is capped on the amount of status that can be applied, so we're going to want to drop as much status on it as we can, strip as much armor as possible, and then deal damage using another weapon. So we're going to be taking the fen more for this. Obviously, the enemies that we're dealing with take additional damage from gas, but they seem to be more resilient to corrosive, or don't seem to take the armor damage from corrosive. So we are just going to be going with gas, putting some extra status on there, and dealing damage that way. So as I said before, we're going to be selecting the mission from the orbiter so that we can get on straight in there. You can even see the kinds of suggested damage that we have going on in. And then you'll see that the damage that we cause to the boss is significantly reduced, even with raw on a high strength build. You can see the damage can take a bit of a while to rack up, so you're going to want to make sure you've got all of the armor stripping on there so that we can get the damage to go through. And as you can see, when you come in here doing Steel Path, you will get significantly more of the Fate Pearls. Hope that helps you all out, and I'll catch you all in the next video.